Hey guys, I'm Jimmy Lee here and welcome back to my channel. So as you know, yesterday, game 1 of the World Championship matches in Singapore that finished when Ding Liren just played a masterpiece and won a super nice game, right? So today, game 2 begins when Ding was white. So what happened? So welcome guys to another recap here and hopefully you guys enjoy the series. Okay, let's go to the game right away. As you know, so Ding took the lead in after the first round. So now round 2 Ding was white. I think it is a very important game for both players. For Ding, so it is important to know his strategy of the match, and also I think people want to see what he can play with white, right? With white. For Gukesh, people want to see how the 18-year-old kid can bounce back from a loss, how his momentum will be, and if it can affect his play, right? So let's get to the game right away. Ding basically is a player who can play both d4, c4, e4, but normally he play d4 and c4. But here he play e4 as well. So here Gukesh may play c5, which obviously can be something more active, but I guess after yesterday's loss, Gukesh just want to play safe and solid. e5, f3, d6, and c4. We got the Italian right here. Not Riddle Pass, not Scotch, but the Italian. So this line, people always wonder like why it is very common in the level, right? Because this line normally leads to a very positional variation when lots of threats are avoided, and white can slowly trying to show his positional understanding and trying to outplay back in the long run. And so does black obviously. So here black can play both knight f6 and c5. Obviously both are available. This one you can play d3 or knight g5, but I guess in the game I think you play d3 most likely. So in the game you play the c5 here, d3. Knight f6. Here the main line obviously is c3, right? And black can play like here, 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 whatever he wants, even here as well, right? There are plenty of things available, so it's not easy to know what Gukesh prepared after c3, but obviously, let's see how things can be, right? In a game, let's c3. Let's play. The 4-knight variation of the Italian, which normally is known to be pretty safe and positional play. This here, the idea is trying to run the bishop back to a7. This move, in fact, is a very common weapon for black. You know, even in the midline, for instance, right? Like c3, d6 castles here and here, right? This is a very common idea for black in the Italian. In the game, knight c3, a6, a4. Obviously, Ding is still trying to play it very quickly here at this point. d6, which castles, and h6. Prevent g5. As usual, in Italian opening, several move orders and alternatives are possible, although the game's creators doesn't really change that much. Like black can play castles, he can play here, he can also play g4 as well, right? But basically, things are all possible, I guess. But this one is also a very safe move. I guess that after yesterday's loss, today Gukesh enter the game with a clear mindset of play safe and maybe have a draw with black pieces. So let's see how Ding's team prepared. H3. Okay, obviously a natural line. The idea here is that if black takes on e3, white can take back with f pawn. People may be worried about the double pawns here, right? But in fact, the f file now is open, right? It became a semi-open f file, and normally white can try to go for an h4 and f5 to go for the attack here on the king side. The queen sometimes can be rerouted right here as well too to go for the attack. So in fact, this thing is normally considered to be slightly better for white in the long run. In the game, e6. So black doesn't get worried about these ideas because somehow, if they here for instance, right, the pawn here cover d4 pretty well, and this pawn can be defended easily. So they although seems weak, but they are not really mistakes. They are not really like some targets to be attacked. in the game. So Ding lists out the novelty of a5 right here, which obviously is a new move. Here, so both bishop here to e6, or maybe even like knight d5 are unavailable, right? But then here Ding came up with a new idea, which I think remains somewhat mysterious, but I guess that it is something that Ding's team prepared at home. Obviously, white gains space on the queen side and invites black in the game. So in the game, takes, and here I guess that the main idea here and the main alternative need to be considered, especially before, because here black wins a pawn by force, right? But I guess that Ding's team should, I think, analyze it in depth, right? So obviously, Gukesh want to avoid getting into that kind of danger. Maybe the knight d5 here, knight e4, queen d3, knight c5, queen f5, for instance, right? And then there can be some counter play for white with a strong knight here on d5, and also white can launch an attack here, which I think may be quite complicated as well. Also here, if black plays castles, I mean like bishop e3, right? Take here, castles also allow white to demonstrate the ideas that he wants to go, like queen e1, knight h4, and once again, go for the attack. Obviously, you don't want to play here right away because knight e4 and this tactics here will cost you a pawn, right? That's why you don't want to do that. But here in the game, Gukesh went for a safer approach. Castles. Takes, and now I think the game entered a very solid and professional phase. As you can see here, the pawn structures are somewhat similar, and the d file is on the only route to attack for both sides, right? In the game, so it was played right here, trying to defend upon a c4 just in case. Queen d1, d1, and rook d8. So I watched the game live myself, and to be honest, I did expect a draw at this point pretty soon. So here, for me, I kind of understand the strategy for both players at this point. For Ding, he clearly wants to play it safe. He wants to just like try some solid structures and then maybe hoping for a chance to ride in the long run. For Gukesh, he also wants to avoid something complex as before, right? And trying to go for some safety measures. So right here, nobody has any weaknesses, so that's why the right is pretty tough. I think the most likely way to play here for an edge like knight e1, for instance, they're gonna d3, right? When the knight attack the weak pawn on c5. But even here, I think rook d1 here, knight e5, and now knight d3 we're gonna pawn. But then I guess like I think maybe rook d8, I guess, and knight c5, rook d1, and this one should also I think end up in a draw, right? I just don't see how can white win this position at this point. So in the game, Ding avoided for the time being, rook dc1. I was a bit surprised when I see this move. I think is an odd looking idea, right? Why put the rook in the c file, which is completely closed? I guess the thing here, maybe Ding wants to avoid rook exchange for the time being, and he wants to play here later on. The rook on a1 will defend a pawn on a5, the rook here defend pawn on c2, and the knight, whenever it's here, will be tried later on. Knight d4 in the game, knight a1. Clear ideas, right? This maneuver is something pretty typical that we have seen for a while. Rook d6, and Gukesh simply trying to double the rook here. So here there is a small trick you should know as well too. The knight d3 here is hasty, which allow knight b3 on the spot. So now you cannot really play like here, right? Because now you are getting forked. And take here, now black is over pawn, and his rook can invade your camp right away, right? So here, before you want to try and go for these ideas, you need to slow down a little bit first. In the game, kf1. Bring the king out, also prevent this idea like knight e2 in the future, right? g6. So here at this point, it already seems like a draw for both, right? Very solid structures, and it's hard to really make any progress. Knight d3 here is hard to be tried. Here, so white can let rook a3 in fact, for instance, to defend a pawn here. But then, for instance, here, right? Knight d3 allow knight c2, which is also the same, right? The knight is still hanging. That's why right here, at this point, I think a draw is a likely outcome. Rook d1 here, come back to the d file. Rook d8, f3 defend the pawn, king e7, king f2, h5. Here, so I guess the only chance to play for long, maybe like, h4, stopping the king side and trying to outmaneuver the opponent, but it is super hard. Especially, I think when both players want to play solid, it is not going to work, right? And in the game, to repeat right away as a result. So, not a super exciting duo because Ding chose, I think, such a solid line and leads to no real fight on the board. Obviously, Gukesh also wanted to avoid something so complex, right? Because he lost yesterday. So, after the fireworks in the first game, this is something you can probably expect. And maybe it's the first quick draw in the event, I believe. In general, I think here now you can start to understand the mindset and the strategy of both players. For Ding, from both yesterday's game and today's game, he seemed to play pretty solid chess. He sometimes invite Gukesh to going for some complications. Like here, for instance, if Gukesh decided to go before, right? Walk into the complexities, I think Ding is happy to go for this and trying to go for some kind of play. But here, Gukesh also plays safe, which allow the game to steer into a draw, right? So somehow, I think Ding now, especially after he leads by a point, has no reason to play for something risky. For Gukesh, I think now his idea will be trying to draw on black games. I think a draw black here is not a bad thing at all for him. And then, when he's white, he needs to strike back at some point, right? So, I'm pretty sure that the fireworks and something very fun, very exciting will still be happening very soon. Maybe like game 3. Let's see how things can happen. I believe that it will still be one of the most exciting match of the World Championships. And then people will not be disappointed at all. So, hopefully you guys enjoy my recap. And not only you guys, but also me, we are all looking forward to see the remaining games of this event, right? So good luck to both players, and we'll see you in recap game number 3 tomorrow, I guess. Peace.